We're going to talk about another AFC South team. We talked about the Colts and Titans earlier, but the team that won the division last year was the Texans. They were the team to beat in the AFC South. I think a lot of people could agree that they have the best quarterback, the Texans, doing Deshaun Watson in the division.
Yeah.
But they're a mess right now. And I think a lot of people would say that the Texans are ruining Deshaun Watson. What are your takes on that and the Texans' future as a whole?
The only good thing they've done, they've done two, undisputably positive things since Deshaun Watson has got there. One is extending Deshaun Watson, and two is firing Bill O'Brien. Yeah. It's the only two things that have happened that have been, definite positives in that organization.
Laramie Tunsil was one?
No, because as good as Laramie Tunsil's been for them, you look at that deal, they gave up their 2020 first-round pick, which the Dolphins turned into a later first-round pick, and I believe a fourth. And then they gave up their 2021 first-round pick, which is looking like it's going to be a top-5 pick. 2021 second-round pick, which will essentially be a late first-round pick. And on top of that, they had to pay him a 3-year, $66 million extension, which is good for a team who's in a position to do that. And I talked to you about the Jets with this. When you're a good team and you're in a position to do things like that, that's awesome. But when you're a team like the Texans that have so many holes, it's very tough to pay a guy $33 million.
That's true, but it is one of the most important positions in football.
Yeah.
So if there's one position I don't mind doing it for, is that position.
That's extended Deshaun Watson's lifespan with the Texans, because before that he was running for his life, and he still somewhat is.
He still is, yeah.
But that's kind of helped him out a little bit with that offensive line. But the price that they had to pay for it was so high that you could argue that it was almost a negative for them in the long run.
Oh, he said everything. He just forgot that they traded away the best receiver in the league.
On top of that, they traded away DeAndre Hopkins for a David Johnson, who hasn't had a 100-yard rushing game yet, and a second-round pick. And then they traded a second-round pick for Brandon Cooks to replace DeAndre Hopkins. So I don't know
who has durability issues.
And then they almost traded away Will Fuller, which Deshaun Watson said would have put him in football hell.
He's already.
So if you're Will Fuller, who is not a difference-making player, in my opinion, if you're Will Fuller away from football hell, it speaks volumes about your situation. And that's what the Texans are right now. They're not the worst team in the league, but they are football hell, and I don't know where they're going from here, especially because they don't have their picks.
Do they at least have cap?
I'm going to be honest. No, they don't have cap. I'm going to be honest. One, I do think Will Fuller is a difference maker. Defenses have to key in on his speed because he can break the top off the defense. So I think he is a difference maker. When you look at his numbers when he was on the field, the offense's numbers when it was D-Hop and Will Fuller versus only D-Hop alone, there was a major difference. Like, I think he is a difference maker.
Okay, I get you.
I know he's not a top 10 receiver.
I meant that as he's not a DeAndre Hopkins type receiver.
He's not a top 10 receiver, but he's an important player on the field.
That's fair.
But I'll say this, I'm not as down on the Texans' future as a lot of people are. I think a lot of people, one, I thought Bill O'Brien, his time was definitely up, but I think he did a good job in Houston overall. He took them to the playoffs multiple times. They won the division multiple times. He did an okay job there. I think his downfall was his stubbornness and trading away the best players. That's what I think his downfall was. But in terms of winning the division, he did a good job. Right? But what I'll say is this. The Texans aren't in that bad of a position. They don't have their picks this year, the first or second round pick. But next year, they have all their picks. And then the years after that, they have all their picks. So this is the only year that it's going to be rough for them. This year and next year will be rough for them. But after that, everything gets easier. They still are not going to have a lot of cap because they paid Deshaun Watson $100+ million. But you have to pay your quarterback that. They've already figured out the most important position. Now it's just about getting the right head coach. And people talk about Eric Bieniemy going to the Jets or going to the Chargers, but why wouldn't you go to the Texans?
I would go to the Chargers 1,000 times out of 1,000 over the Texans.
But
here's the point.
Go coach Deshaun. Deshaun's one of the better quarterbacks in the league. I'd even say he's an elite quarterback. Any coach would love to coach Deshaun Watson. They just have to figure out the coach and the GM. because the GM right now, the interim GM, is this guy named Jack Easterby, and he's this kind of mystery man. Like, I was trying to do research on him, and there's nothing about him online that I can find. Like, he's a mystery man. I don't think he's had any experience being a GM in his career, and even football experience in general. I think this is his first stint in like a major role. So I hope the Texans don't bring him back as GM. So if they can figure out the GM and then the coach, I think they'll be in great position. And they just have to draft well.
But the problem with that is like Deshaun Watson is not getting any younger. And I feel like they've wasted some of his better years on nothing. I think they made the playoffs.
This first year, definitely a wasted year. Next year will probably be a wasted year as well, right?
And then even after that, they're still not going to be in a great cap situation. And their picks 2 years from now are going to take time to develop unless I don't see them drafting 7 guys who are going to come in and make an impact immediately. It's just going to be a very tough situation to rebuild. Is it possible? Yes.
Deshaun is 25 years old. You're telling me the Texans, by the time he's 27, 28, they figure it out? That's still young. And that's especially at the age people are playing quarterback now.
It is, but it's going to take a lot of legwork to make them into a contender over those next 2 years. And also, Deshaun Watson is a guy like Lamar Jackson, like Josh Allen. He takes a lot of hits. Is he going to be able to survive through the year? Yeah. So, where are they going to build it? Because they don't have the cap to add guys through free agency, like elite guys who will make a difference.
They have no picks.
And they don't have any picks. So I just don't like what positive pieces do they really have except Lamar or Deshaun Watson and Laramie Tunsil?
That's why I think for them it's about drafting well at this point. Because in 2021, in this upcoming draft, their highest pick is a 3rd rounder, but they do have 2 4th rounders, one from the DeAndre Hopkins trade. So and then 2022 they have all the draft picks, but they have two 4th rounders as well. So they just have to draft well from now on, which who knows if that's going to happen, but that's why I feel like the first step is getting a good coach in there and getting a good GM, because a good coach, we've seen that can do miracles for a team. We've seen that with Brian Flores and the Dolphins. These players that all of a sudden look horrible for the Texans, you get a new coach in there, these guys can look way different under a new scheme that they're under in. So that I'm not down on the Texans because they have the most important position figured out. If it was a team that like the Jaguars, they don't have that the position figured out. The Giants, they don't have that position figured out. No, the Texans have a top 10 quarterback in the NFL. Now they just have to figure out everything else, and I think that's the easiest part. The hardest part to me is finding the right quarterback.
Yeah, and I agree with you there. The hardest part is definitely finding a quarterback, but you've seen on multiple occasions that a quarterback can – there are very few quarterbacks that can single-handedly win you football games, and I just don't see enough positive pieces. Bill O'Brien, I feel like he did a terrible job with this franchise because if he was just coaching – I wouldn't have that bad of a view on his time there, but they doubled down, made him the GM as well, and he just tore the team apart, traded their best player in DeAndre Hopkins for breadcrumbs. And I just don't – it's such a shame that Deshaun Watson's best years of his career – or not his best years of his career, his youngest years of his career, his years on his rookie contract are going to be wasted away. Because they should have.
He got injured 1 year.
Yeah. I personally feel like they should have dominated this division, which they really haven't. Because the division has not been that good since Andrew Luck retired. Even Andrew Luck's last year.
The Titans have been solid for years. They've finished like 4 years in a row, 9-7.
I personally feel like the Texans should have been one of the best teams in the league the past few years. But they have just done such a bad job. When you have a quarterback as elite as Deshaun Watson was his first few years, like the Bills have done a very nice job of taking a great young talent in Josh Allen and surrounding him while he's on his rookie deal. And the Texans didn't really do that. They had DeAndre Hopkins, and they had a couple of nice pieces defensively, but they always had holes. And when you're paying your quarterback who's playing at an elite level, pennies on the dollar, there should not be as many holes as they've had the past few years.
Every team has holes, though. The Texans' only hole, I think, last year was probably secondary and offensive line.
And those are two huge holes.
Yeah, but you look at the Bills.
That's two of the most important positions
at the Bills.
on the field.
The Bills haven't been able to do that for Allen. They don't have a pass rush. They don't have a pass rush at all. They don't have a tight end. Like, their tight end isn't that good. Like, there are holes on that team too.
But they have weapons other than
DeAndre Hopkins,
end.
Will Fuller, who was there last year? Kenny Stills.
Yeah,
those
and they
are
have the weapons, but you mentioned that the secondary and offensive line have been so weak, and that's two of the biggest impact positions on the field.
Yeah, but at least they try to do something with the Laramie Tunsil trade. But I'm just saying that you can't fill up every single hole. Like, there's going to be some holes.
Definitely not. I just think that there was too many holes considering what they were paying the second best player on the team in Deshaun Watson. He was playing at such a high level that you need to take advantage of that. And it's one of the things I've said about Sam Darnold, why I think the Jets will move on from him, because they're going to have to pay him in 2 years. And I don't see them righting the ship completely in 2 years. And when you have to pay your quarterback, it's a huge amount of money that takes a large chunk out of your salary cap and just makes your job that much harder moving forward. And when you don't really have the head start, like, I don't think the Texans have enough good pieces to build on right now, especially they traded their picks. They don't have the salary cap. So it will they can turn it around in 2 or 3 years, but it'll take a very, very good job of rebuilding. It'll be interesting to see. And it all starts with the GM decision and then the coaching decision. That's the two most important decisions in sports. And you mentioned it. We've seen it a million times. Brian Flores has done it in Miami. You bring in a good coach, you create a culture, and that's personally what I think the Texans have been lacking most is I don't trust Bill O'Brien at all. And I think that cost them for the past few years.
Hey, what's up, guys? You just finished watching a clip of the Pick a Side podcast. My name is Joel Moran.
My name is Jack Barteck.
My name is River Brown.
And we are your hosts for this podcast. We want to thank you guys for watching the clip. Like, subscribe, and comment, and share if you would care to, because it helps us grow. We're trying to make this a full-time thing. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for supporting, and see you next time.